Now, if that open doesn't get you pumped up for a day of racing, you're in the wrong sport and maybe there's no help. Anyway, the weather is just perfect out here. I've always looked at this as sort of these shots from beautiful Gulfstream Park, almost like an East Coast version of an old school Beach Boys song. And it is idyllic outside, a busy Saturday morning. As you can see, things have settled down both on the main track and the turf course, given the fact that training went on here a few hours back at Gulfstream Park, Omaha Beach.
Yep.
Got his first feel for the main as he gears up for the Pegasus. And, of course, moments ago, we just announced the Eclipse Award finalists for 2019.
Absolutely. Pretty exciting. Of course, coming up January 23rd right here at Gulfstream at the Sport of Kings Theater. So make sure you go and get your tickets and check all of that out. But it was an honor for Jason and I to once again be able to announce all of the finalists. And we were really treated to some spectacular moments in 2019 with all of our human and equine stars. So we're excited to see some more special moments today. And as you mentioned, Omaha Beach gearing up for the Pegasus World Cup, his first time hitting the track at Gulfstream Park. War Story worked this morning as well.
Yes, and we will have the War Story Breeze from Palm Meadows, courtesy of XBTV, is the old campaigner. What is this? Potentially his third, right? His third Pegasus Dirt. Pretty amazing horse who just, again, has been kind of an ageless wonder and pulled off the upset here a few weeks ago in the Harlan's Holiday. Now, as we move forward, everybody, welcome to this live Saturday, and it's an abbreviated edition of Gulfstream Today, obviously with the Eclipse Award finalists being announced at 11:05. Put us, at least as far as doing the show, we don't get our allotted, say, 40 minutes. So it's going to be more or less a stakes-heavy edition and handicapping analysis. But we do have to take a step back, and I'm sorry to say it's a step back. Friday's Beat the Expert, we had 3 winners. I know you had an okay day, a few winners, but in the end, 3 gentlemen were just a bit better than you.
A bit better, but congratulations. Thanks to everybody that played. We do really appreciate it. It's a lot of fun. Omar, Ray, and Donald, big congratulations. But more congratulations are owed. Stronach 5 paid well again, and Stan Salter up in Maryland, his ticket hit.
Cool.
Yeah.
For over $1,100. And once again, Value City here regarding, I mean, the biggest priced upset winner was the second race here, second leg at Gulfstream on the turf. That was Jane Sabelli's Paint Them Blues Away, who's gotten good in a hurry, paid $16 on the nose. But other than that, it was basically 2-1, 5-2, and a couple of horses sub 2-1 for $11.87.20. We'll do it again next weekend, mainly next Friday afternoon. That'll be January 10th, believe it or not, as we continue to just roll right along in the new year of 2020. Speaking of rolling, not that sailboat or motorboat in the background, but $2 million, the guarantee in that Saturday jackpot Rainbow Six. And this is one of those days. I mean, obviously Acacia, Saturdays and Thoroughbred racing go hand in hand, but this is a day here at Gulfstream where we have a stakes-heavy card, 5 stakes in all, and I love that this Rainbow Six not only has the $2 million threshold, but you've got all 5 stakes in the sequence.
It kicks off with the Limehouse, and both Jason and I taking a shot with our tickets in here, and I think we have a little bit of the same view that the Limehouse kicking things off does really revolve around Chivalry. What are we going to get from this one? And I'm really interested to see these stakes.
Now, I think if memory serves, you're standing alone with Chivalry to start the Rainbow Six.
I did. I ended up pulling the plug early. I'm going to just single for better for worse, thinking that he might just be the best horse in here. 3 deep in the Kitten's Joy. That's grade 3 now, which is, I think, another contentious race coming up. 2 from Todd Pletcher, which could be interesting. I'm going 3 deep in the 8th as well. 2 horses from Jorge Abreu, and then you've got Sound Machine, who cost a lot of money, and we'll see what we get from that filly by Into Mischief. Race 9 is the Ginger Brew, which I think is perhaps the most wide open of the stakes, and a big turf field, a competitive one, and a wide open one at that too. Race 10, I'm going 3 deep in the Mucho Macho Man. Jason and I talking off air, is it just going to surround Chance It? Will he come and make his debut in open company? We've got a couple of other horses that have been facing good horses and running well that I'll use 3 horses and 3 deep in the last.
Well, many parallels between your ticket and mine. You've got a whole lot of red on that one, Acacia. I don't as much, but I do have a lot of white. I think Inside Post obviously may have a good day. And speaking of the inside, Chivalry goes from the rail, and I ultimately think he beat a better field than the one he faces this afternoon in the Limehouse when he won the Buffalo Man here on that opening Saturday card, November 30th, and he was doing it on a 7-day turnaround. Now he's got 35 days between starts. I was originally in the camp of potentially singling Chance. And I like him today, and I think he's going to run gigantic, and I hope he does. But I'd rather single Shivery and give myself at least a little defensive room to play around with, because South Bend, as we'll talk about a bit later, I mean, clearly he was a horse in the 10th race, the Mucho Mancho, kept a pretty good crop, or at least faced a pretty good number of peers over the fall at Churchill Downs.
Yeah, he has. He had a stakes win 2 starts back, and last time in the Kentucky Jockey Club on that wet track, going the mile and a 16th. So we'll see if he's just going to be sharp or getting back on a fast main track today.
Now, fast track and being fast in general is something that Shivery has done a lot of, mainly over his last 2 races. He had broken his maiden closing week, in fact, at GPW right around Thanksgiving. Yet, despite that big win and the fact that he was a huge favorite against Florida-bred restricted competition, Ralph Nix opted to wheel him back in just 7 days, and the proof turned out to be perhaps the gamest. I mean, on a horse-for-horse, inch-for-inch basis, this might have been the bravest, most resolute performance we've seen out of any horse thus far this championship season. Here we go off the top of the stretch, and Shivery kind of does the talking as he just refused to lose.
Well, what happened here is that Went West went by him, and he came back inside, which is huge, an incredibly game, very tenacious. Now, he does come back off of such a big effort like that, but I like that he's been freshened up since that. As you mentioned, they wheeled him back in just 7 days. I spoke to Ralph Nix yesterday, and of course, he's not thrilled with the rail post position for this horse. He does have some natural speed. His hand may be forced early, but he's just so pleased with what he's been doing. And Ralph said the family as well. The brother, Garter and Ty, has been very good for the Nix barn, and this horse is just coming off, I think, some very good efforts.
Do things potentially, we both like him and think he's going to be likely odds on, and he'll be tough to beat and a very likely winner. I guess there is some hope for some of the others in here, mainly due to the presence of Shivery from that tough rail with Cajun Casanova and the 6 Zano boys. I mean, this race is likely to have a very contested, hot pace. If that happens, is Peruvian Boy a likely winner for you?
That's I don't know about likely winner. I don't know, but I do think that he's potentially one that's going to be picking up the pieces late if there is a pace meltdown. We've seen stranger things happen, that's for sure. He's got John Velasquez. He's turning back in distance, which I think his sprints are a bit stronger, and he's been facing some good competition. Second time out for Antonio Sano. He even ran 4th in the Saratoga Special. So maybe the turn back. We're going to see if this just might be a good setup for him.
All right, little Johnny V for Antonio as we move on to race number 7. Graded stakes action, and again, 5 consecutive stakes make up the first 5 legs of this $2 million guaranteed Rainbow Six. We go with 8, Grade 3 Kitten's Joy, named naturally for the turf champion in 2004, who ran once at Gulfstream and won the 2004 Palm Beach. I do like that the Ramseys have a colt, a homebred by Kitten's Joy in the race, and the 4 bless the kitten, right? And he's not the only last out maiden winner in the field. That also includes my top pick, the 9 Summer to Remember for the Pletcher barn, as that horse had faced obviously a very talented, maybe the best 2-year-old male turf horse in the country, who just had the unluckiest trip ever in the Breeders' Cup Juvie Turf with Decorated Invader. And I like that he promptly returned, was a big favorite, and did what he had to do last time out. I'm going to take him over the likely, I think the horse to beat. It might be slim, but Irish Mias is coming out of a good field and a very good effort in the pulpit.
He really is, and that's why I gave the slight nod to him. I thought that his last 2 races, when coming out of the Laurel Futurity, I think there were perhaps a few questions about him, and it shows with how he was reacted to on the tote board in his last couple of starts. But he's proved himself in his last couple of races. He's run solidly. Last time out, I thought a very good effort behind Sol Volante, who we'll see later in the Mucho Macho Man on the dirt, which could be a little bit interesting as well. But Graham Motion's horses here in South Florida have been very well meant. Big winner with Tariga at a big price last time out. And I like Summer to Remember as well. I think he's very talented. I did speak to Todd Pletcher. He said they were hoping for an allowance for him next time out. But he did think that I think the race didn't fill, and he thought that the horse was doing well enough to put him right into this company.
And he had to earn that win last time.
He did.
He was hooked as the inside speed, and there were no breathers or just kind of cakewalk kind of trips for him, and he dug in gamely. He'll get the test along with Irish Mias. You got a filly for being Cone, and yesterday once more the Irish bred in from the West Coast, and even the 4 Bless the Kitten, who again is by Kitten's Joy. We turn the page. We're on the main track. 3-year-old fillies, and the Glitter Woman named for a multiple stakes winner for Shug McGahee, who was hands down looking at her resume. 97 here as a 3-year-old filly. Devona Dale, Bonnie Miss, and Forward Gal.
Amazing.
Those were her 3 wins. She was pretty good. Now, you've got a rematch, I think, first and foremost, between 2 fillies that knocked heads here on that opening Saturday card, November 30th. That is the House Party, and I am concerning myself, at least discussing this race with you, with the 6 Spanish Point and Sound Machine, who's in that hard 3-wide chase spot at this point.
Yeah, she certainly was. And I will say that I agree with you. And looking back at all of her races, too, Sound Machine's debut and her maiden win was spectacular. 2 starts back, going 7 furlongs at Keeneland, not her best. What I don't love about this, and this is it here, she's very late, very stubborn to not switch leads, and she just would not go by Spanish Point, who seemed to be doing it a bit easier with a bit less effort than what we saw from Sound Machine. That's not to say that Sound Machine's going to put up a much better effort today than she did. I do think that she needs to improve a little bit in here, though it looks like she has the makings of a good one. Maybe she just needs some more experience.
I just think after that big win, that blowout win first out here in late July, and I still contend she's the best 2-year-old filly I saw locally. I put her narrowly. I know the results or maybe accomplishments don't back up this statement, but I'd take her at this point over 260, who I like a lot. And I think after that race, they just could not find a spot that would go down here over the summertime and maybe put them behind the 8 ball. She didn't ship all that well to Keeneland, and I do think we are going to get a much better effort this afternoon out of the 8 Sound Machine. She's going to need it, though, because Spanish Point is good, and Lady Anna, boy, that was a good...
I'm really excited to see this horse.
Me too.
Yeah.
She was terrific, got bet first out, and that was perhaps the best ride we've seen of Edgar's many wins this, Edgar Prado's many wins this meet. That was just a great ride and a real season effort from this filly.
I thought that she was very professional, and she's been working in company with Spanish Point as well, who is 2 for 2. But Lady Anna just looked like she really showed up very sharp, this into mischief filly. I agree. I think it was professional. It was game, stepping right up into stakes competition. But off of that effort, I think she's very intriguing.
Let's move on to the 9th race as we bring on the Ginger Brew, named for a pretty good Ontario bred, owned by Stronach Stables, as we go 7.5 furlongs, 3-year-old fillies in a race that quite simply going in. Big field aside really centers around the quote-unquote class horse from 2019 in the number 4 Abscond, who did some good things.
Yes, she did, and we'll take you 2 starts back when she won the Natalma at Woodbine. And talk about game. This was a very game effort. What I do think is important to note here is that she had horses on either side of her, and she really fought back down the center of the track. And speaking to Irad Ortiz, that track at Woodbine is so wide, too. There's so many things that can happen. So very game. And then she was beaten by Sharing in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf. But she has some tactical speed. I do wonder, and I like Moral Reasoning too. I think that this race could really be a key turning point for Moral Reasoning. Moral Reasoning just is not very sharp out of the gate. So, and I know she has extra distance today. I hope that she's a bit more forwardly placed to keep up with Absconder.
And she may get a good pace. In fact, if you can sit, you might, even if you break slow or you're a little lethargic to get going, between Abscond, Cheermeister, and certainly the 9 Hear My Prayer, who's going to be a pretty big price, stretching out and going around a ground, or at least around 2 turns for the first time. The fractions are likely to be honest, and I'm just looking at Moral Reasoning as one of these classic Chad fillies who's just going to keep developing and progressing in the right direction as she moves forward. I put her, in fact, you and I will just flip-flop there with the exacta. Cheermeister of the locals has been pretty good on the turf for Armando.
Yeah, she has been, and if we, I mean, what she got in the wait a while, I don't think she's going to have that easy pace set up in here today. I do think that she broke her maiden through disqualification in debut, and she backed it up with a big performance last time out. If we see some sort of turf like we have a little bit over the last few days where speed really does carry, it's going to benefit this filly.
Let's move on to the main event, everybody. Race number 10 and the final of the stakes. It is the 3-year-old Mucho Macho Man. 7 entered. Your morning line odds with chance at 9-5. Second choice belongs to As Seen on TV, who's been very good sprinting of late. And then 9-2 on South Bend from the rail, who again comes out of some pretty salty races beneath the Twin Spires. But make no mistake, this is about the local star and a horse that really electrified, I'd say, us here in South Florida over the summer in Chancet, who's a little unlucky not to be a perfect 5 for 5, but he was dominant. He'll step up in class, Acacia, but his best over the summer was pretty darn impressive.
Yeah, and we haven't seen him since since September 28th, excuse me, when he won going 1/16 miles. And in reality, he won 2 out of 3 of the Florida Sire Stakes. It was the number 3 that day. He had a really spectacular work just recently, the end of December, going 46 flat, and he actually broke behind a workmate, came up and overtook that other horse coming from off the pace a little bit if he needs to be. Now, he has a big loping stride to him, as you can see, this action. He's got a lot of talent. He's very fast. This is going to be the toughest task for him yet. So I'm curious as to what we're going to get to see. He's going to have his running shoes on, but it will be exciting.
Now, his accomplishments against a lot easier. This will be, again, the litmus test, as Acacia said, speak for themselves. But the competition does run, as far as the depth chart, pretty deep in this race where you have a horse. In fact, a couple of key stretch outs, mainly led by the 4, as seen on TV, who's 2 for 3.
Yeah.
His one loss at the hands of Baru, who's been a good 2-year-old and hopefully 3-year-old for trainer Jorge Duarte Jr. Can this horse stretch out to a 1-turn mile?
That's going to be the question here. He's by looking at lucky, but his 2 races that he won were both really good. His win in the juvenile sprint at Gulfstream West last time out, I thought, was very impressive. And I think that South Bend, we're going to hopefully get to see him back to what he was in October when he won the Street Sense at Churchill. He comes out of the Kentucky Jockey Club, and I agree. I don't think that he loved the wet track that day. He was wide. I don't think he ever really got the most comfortable trip, and I think that was a very good field. Still think Tiz the Law is one of the better horses of this age, but I think he faced good company last time.
And his win in the Street Sense, I mean, him and Silver Prospector turned the tables on one another in those final 2 stakes of the fall meet at Churchill Downs, but I noticed that even Shotsky, who was off the board in the Street Sense, would come back and pull off the upset in the Remsen. So again, I originally looked at South Bend going, are these 2-year-olds he was running against legit? And I think the answer is yes, that is, and remains to be seen how he runs in just a very good Mucho Macho Men renewal in the 10th this afternoon. We'll wrap things up in the 11th. We've got some older turf allowance runners in this second level allowance, 60K optional claimer. Wow, that's a lot of different colors there. I like Ice-T. I'm hoping trainer Mary Epler, who does great work with these older geldings and clearly has done a fantastic job with this horse off a very modest price claim right before Christmas in 2017, that she can kind of teach an old gelding some new tricks where maybe he just likes the turf this afternoon. I think in terms of ability, he's a very good fit with this field just as far as his quality goes, and I like him to potentially pull off the upset. You're more towards the outside, obviously, taking the 9 Epic Bromance, where Kelly Breen, very active late in the card.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Could be actually an exciting late double for him. I ended up going with my long shot in here. This horse has had 3 starts so far, beaten just a length and a quarter in stakes competition behind the much more seasoned English B last time out at Park. So let's see if he can get a good trip under Irad Ortiz from the post 9.
And the Kieran horse, you think that horse might like from the rail stretching out in distance?
I'm curious about it. I thought that last time out, first time with the blinkers, he didn't look perhaps as sharp. So I'm thinking next time blinkers, hopefully able to stretch out in distance, and does come out of a key race at Keeneland.
All right, as we say goodbye for now, but it's a short goodbye.
Yes.
We've got Ron Nicoletti joining us naturally downstairs from our Paddock Set Studios all day, and Pete Aiello standing by up in the booth with that opening set of Saturday Scratches and Changes. We hope everybody has a great day.